Hello, welcome to Microsoft Certified Professional Developer 4.0 with ASP.NET and C#. This content is owned and created by Ravi Nanganuri, Microsoft MVP, .NETvideos.net. So exam 70-515 and video number 12, we're talking about jQuery. So jQuery is a popular lightweight JavaScript library. It's not Microsoft owned and built, but it's built directly into Visual Studio 2010 now and supported right out of the box actually with your web applications, your websites, in your MVC projects. You would have jQuery libraries being referenced. So jQuery provides a lot of rich benefits. There is Ajax controls are exposed as jQuery plugins now. This means you can actually create the Ajax controls or instantiate them with jQuery syntax, use the chaining and the other various advantages of using jQuery with your Ajax controls. So there is a little bit of gray area on when to use the libraries, when to use jQuery, when to use both. Although there's integration between both, there's certainly some functionality overlap. Now jQuery is nicely integrated with the Ajax libraries. You can certainly use both in your applications. You can use one or the other. So they have a few pros and cons. jQuery is great with DOM manipulation, for example. Ajax libraries are great with the data binding and the normal app, the control-based stuff. So you can certainly use both, and there's going to be no silver bullet to the right answer. Understanding how to leverage both are part of the core exam fundamentals and how the integration exists between the two. So jQuery has a lot of pros. Since that's the topic of this video, we should talk about easily manipulating DOM elements. You can use special effects with jQuery, very graphically nice. Separation of concerns, and again, that rich Microsoft Ajax integration just in general. So I'm going to go over to our example, and we're going to demonstrate some jQuery principles here and fundamentals. I just have a ASP.NET web application template I'm running with here, and you notice I've got, just by default, this jQuery script here. This particular script here with the VS Doc, that's the one that has support for IntelliSense as well, and I can certainly just drag and drop that on my page. I've just got an HTML page here just for simplicity, and you notice I've got this script type or script src tag already referencing that jQuery. Again, I just got that by dragging and dropping out of Solution Explorer. You can certainly hand type that in as well, of course. And I've got a very simple HTML page just to demonstrate how jQuery is used inside of Visual Studio 2010. So you notice I've got the script type here set to text JavaScript. I've got a function up there. We'll come back to that. I've got a couple div tags on the page just so we can manipulate, and I've got a input button down here as well where I'm using JavaScript, where I'm calling that function on the onClick. So very simple HTML page is set up here, and by using jQuery, I'm going to show you some various techniques and advantages of leveraging that. Again, jQuery on the back end is just these set of JavaScript libraries. And much of what we're going to do is very familiar to you if you're already a JavaScript developer. I've got this $sign here, and you notice I'm going to type in here just to show you this $pound div1, where I'm referencing that div1 element. Now, the $sign is arguably the most important character. It basically says to the browser, hey, we're going to use the jQuery namespace now. And then I get this ability to, like all in one line, so to speak, really do some nifty things. So, for example, I'll go ahead and pound div2 here for my div2 ID, and I will do the .html here. So the .html, this is similar if you're going to use like inner HTML with your other JavaScript stuff. That's jQuery's version of that. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw in some jQuery text here just to show you as I plug it into the div tag. So one of the pros, if you were asked on the exam about, using jQuery libraries, it's very easy to kind of manipulate the DOM or manipulate and use elements in the HTML. The syntax is very nice and tidy. You see here that I've got a couple areas where I've got the div stuff, and I hit the button, and then I dynamically change that easy enough. Okay, so when you're using the jQuery syntax, you're often going to be using the $sign. You can also, I should point out, you could set breakpoints here in Visual Studio 2010 with JavaScript stuff in general, as well as the jQuery stuff. You can simply walk through and do normal debugging with the JavaScript in Visual Studio 2010. Adding watch variables to your watch window and whatnot. I'll go ahead and stop the debugging for that. So that's kind of out of what we were talking about for this video, but I wanted to point that out. I'm going to go over here and uncomment some text I had already set, and I'm going to point out another important element when using jQuery, and that is the $document.ready. And it's basically what browsers are going to react differently, render elements at different points in time. This is a very clean, nice way jQuery provides us to say, okay, this ensures that the page is fully loaded, and at that point I can do something. And being able to chain these various operations together. Notice I've another dollar sign. I'm just going to add a paragraph tag with some dynamic text. I'm going to append this to the body. So one of the things that you're going to talk about when you're talking about the exam is the ability to do DOM manipulation and move around the DOM, move around the elements of the HTML. You can see that the various, if you would hit the IntelliSense here, which I'm getting, what the various methods do. Append to, add stuff to the body. So you notice here I've got some dynamic text that just gets automatically now added to the body of the screen after the page is fully loaded again. That document.ready, very important. IE7, for example, would have erred on that, whereas Firefox would have worked, for example. So you have lots of IntelliSense here. You can walk through, see the various methods that are important. The exam content posts some of the stuff you're going to want to be able to know how to do. We're going to show a few more of these. But the idea is it's very easy to kind of traverse the elements in the HTML with jQuery. If anybody's written JavaScript syntax, they notice how cumbersome and how heavy it can kind of be at times. jQuery cleans this up for us. I'm going to go ahead and show another example. You notice again when I'm just typing in the, I'm going to get my syntax here. One of the rich features or parts about jQuery that people found interesting is the actual the animation abilities of it. So you notice I've got this div 1. I'm just going to do a fade out on div 1. So very quickly can do this and simply rerun the page. Click this and you notice now my div tag fading out, the text in the div fading completely out there. And there's other ways and options that you can do, lots of different animation type stuff you can do. I could slow this down if I wanted to fade a little bit slower in terms of milliseconds. Or in terms of just the word slow here. So again, this is all going to be part of getting up to speed with the various jQuery abilities. But again, at a high level, you should know that there certainly are graphic or animation capabilities here. Now, one of the other great things, and probably one of the huge features for jQuery, is the ability to chain all these events, or again, chain all these commands up together again. Notice now I've got this fading in and out, fading in and out. And I didn't have to write multiple lines or multiple lines of JavaScript code. I just chained those one after another. With the dot fade in, dot fade out, etc. So I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to move over. I've got a JavaScript file where I've just got an alert box that's going to be loading, and the $.ajax I can use to actually load this JavaScript file. Loading files is a very common thing you want to do, and again, jQuery provides support for that. I just give this a type, a URL, what data type. It's just a script file at this point. We'll look at JSON here in a minute, and we'll go ahead and we can run this, and at this point, it's just going to bring up that other JavaScript file, which and execute it, which just happens to be an alert box. So this all very simple, very easily done via jQuery. The ability to load files. Again, I could be posting data to the server. $.ajax, something else you're going to need to know for the exam, and how you would use that to potentially load or push data. I've got a page over here called JSON that has nothing in the actual ASPX page at all, and I'm just going to be posting some JSON data in the response object. I'm just basically clearing the response object. Application/JSON is the name of the content type, and then I'm posting company.netvideos.net in a well-formatted JSON. JavaScript object notation, or JSON, is part of the or one of the popular ways to post and send data around. And this is you could have used web methods here to automatically expose it this way as well. We can simply, using jQuery with a $.getJSON, go and get the JSON data. So you can load JSON data, work with it very easily with jQuery. So another one of the capabilities here, by using the jQuery syntax, it's just going to be a $.getJSON. I'm just going to actually have the URL I'm going to head over to, which is json.aspx. And then I'm going to basically grab the company name and then hope to show that once again in an alert box over on my page. So if you looked over here again at the JSON page, it's the only data that ought to be there is actually that company name. So if I go ahead and quickly run this, and you see when I click the button here that we end up with this alert box coming just saying .NET videos. So pushing and pulling JSON data directly supported again with jQuery. So using jQuery with Ajax, using jQuery to kind of extend things, the rich integration here, all the abilities that you get with jQuery, the clean syntax, separation of concerns, basically provides a very rich, powerful way to work with JSON data or other types of data or other types of Ajax operations. Now again, whether or not you're going to want to use jQuery exclusively or jQuery with some of the Ajax libraries, it's going to depend on your certain circumstance. I encourage you to take the quiz at the end of this video.